Thank you for tuning into our podcast, Canal Days, What Life is Like in the Industrial Connecticut River Valley of Massachusetts. I am your host, Carrie, and joining us today is Holyoke's very own local historian and creator of historical tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Como. He personally offers and leads public and private tours, as well as presentations of historical sites within communities throughout the state of Massachusetts. Currently, the communities he has chosen to focus on this year are Holyoke, Chicopee, South Hadley, and East Hampton, and also Granby and Amherst as well. His tours spotlight the local canals, reservoirs, cemeteries, and churches, as well as various streets, parks, and selected historical houses within each community. In today's episode, we'll be discussing the First Congregational Church located in Amherst, Massachusetts. So where is the First Congregational Church of Amherst located?
Easy place to find because it's right across from Emily Dickinson's house called the Homestead. It's also right across from Austin Dickinson's home called the Evergreen. And so what a gorgeous sight. You're on a street with two beautiful mansions where important people live, one of national and international repute. And across the street is a gorgeous church. And in fact, Austin Dickinson had a hand in getting the church built at the location and helping a little bit with what kind of design it would have. So what a wonderful place to have a church. And if I ever did a tour of what is important in Emily Dickinson's life, I would start sure of her house, but then go through churches and parks and schools that she would have used along the way. And so thus, great. But this church is called the First Congregational Church, and that means anytime you put a first, second, third in front of a Protestant church's names, that means it's the first group that got a charter for itself to organize and have a church. The second group under the same denomination would have to use the word second, and then third, and so forth. It does not mean the first edition of a congregational church. In fact, the First Congregational Church, this is their third edition. So we're going to talk about where the others two were in its history and so forth. And we're going to talk about also what it's made of, because the churches of everywhere are great, but in Amherst are exceptionally nice. And then also how this church has changed through time. And the church itself, the cornerstone, was put down September 21st, 1867. And at that point, it went up, and probably by 1868, they were having masses inside of it.
And tell us about the history of this church.
All right, so this is the third edition of the First Congregational Church of Amherst. The First Congregational Church's first location was on the campus of Amherst College. And sadly, it's now gone. It used to be a small white clapboard church, and it was very close to this one, maybe only 250 yards away. And Amherst College students would use it, Amherst professors, and the residents of Amherst themselves would come on the campus and use it. Okay, and that served also as the first meeting house, which means the place where politics were done. Now, the second edition of the First Congregational Church, well, that's still there. And where it is if you go onto Pleasant Street near the Green, and in the far southwest tip, you'll see a building that looks like a church. That's the second edition of the First Congregational Church. It's still there, and it still looks very much like a church. It's all white, like a lot of these churches were in the beginning, made out of wood. So, from 1867, we got the third edition coming in. And that's 157 years now. And they're still in place. They're still a very active community. The church is still in great shape. The landscape is wonderful. The rector's house is behind. And it's a great compliment to the Evergreen and the Homestead across the street, because the Homestead especially gets lots of national and international visitors. It's a national historic landmark, and it's great to have the other side of the street be excellent too.
And really quick, before we continue with the rest of our interview, just to fill our listeners in, for more information or to sign up for any of his various tours, you can check out his website at holyokecanaltour.org. And there you can find videos and podcasts of the stops along each of his tours, as well as photos and text of the historical sites throughout as well. And for private tours and other inquiries, you can email him directly at bobcat4214, @yahoo.com. And his tours make for fun, educational, outdoor activities for families and group parties. So getting back to our interview, what is the church made of?
All right, the church body is made out of granite rock and it's very well constructed. It might look like the Grace Episcopal Church in Amherst, but that one's made out of gneiss. This one's made out of granite. Now, the architectural style is such that it gives it a slate roof, and if you look at the slate roof all around, as you go up the steeple part of it, which is also slate, you have dark gray bands put into it, so really narrow bands and one big band and a few more narrow bands inside of it. And then on the main church itself, you have a lot more slate. The windows are Gothic style, so this is a neo-Gothic or Gothic revival church. And otherwise, it's well made.